The elevator doors sliced shut like a guillotine, trapping me in a steel coffin with the ghost of my worst nightmare. Hunter Blackwood's broad shoulders filled half the space. His cologne, a sharp, expensive cedar that hadn't changed since senior year, hitting me like a punch to the gut. "Aiden," he said, voice low and rough, as if we'd shared secrets instead of scars. "You look like you've seen a dead man." I pressed my back against the cold wall of the elevator in the sleek lobby of the Rainier Tower, Seattle's steel and glass heart pulsing around us on a drizzly autumn evening. The air hummed with the faint whir of cables, but it was his presence that made the space shrink, turning 15 square feet into a pressure cooker of old wounds and unfinished business. My heart slammed against my ribs, a frantic Morse code spelling out run, run, run. But there was nowhere to go. The button for the 23rd floor, where I dragged myself for a freelance pitch meeting after a 12-hour slog at my graphic design gig, glowed mockingly, unresponsive. A jolt, then nothing. The lights flickered once, twice, and plunged us into emergency red glow. "Shit," Hunter muttered, jabbing the buttons like they owed him money. His fingers, thick and calloused from whatever corporate conquests he'd chased since Ridge Valley High, flexed with frustration. He was 30 pounds heavier than the lean bully who'd shoved me into lockers and whispered slurs in the hallways of that forgotten Washington mill town. But the sharp jaw, the storm-gray eyes, the perpetual smirk, they were all there, etched deeper by time. Ridge Valley, with its fog-shrouded pines and clapboard houses clinging to the Cascade foothills, felt like a lifetime ago. I'd fled it at 18, vowing never to look back, building a life in Seattle's rain-slicked chaos where anonymity was the closest thing to armor. Now, here we were, suspended between floors, the world outside reduced to a muffled hum. My phone had no bars, fucking typical, and the emergency call button crackled with static before dying. "Great," I said, forcing my voice steady, though it came out thinner than intended. "Of all the people in this city, it had to be you." He turned, slow, like he was sizing up prey. That smirk tugged at his lips, but there was something fractured in it, a crack in the facade. "Miss me, Hayes? Or just surprised I'm not still kicking your ass in the parking lot?" The words landed like gravel in my throat. Memories flooded in unbidden. The taunts in the boys' locker room after gym, the way his crew, Tyler and Cole, those interchangeable jocks with their Letterman jackets, would circle like wolves while he led the pack. "Fag," he'd hiss, close enough for me to feel his breath, hot and mocking, as he slammed my books from my hands. I'd spent nights curled in my childhood bedroom, the one with the slanted ceiling and posters of indie bands peeling at the edges, wondering if jumping from the roof would silence the echo. But I never did. I survived, graduated in a blur of invisibility, and vanished into the University of Washington's design program, where I learned to channel the hurt into pixels and vectors. I crossed my arms, staring at the floor numbers frozen on 14. "What are you even doing here? Last I heard, you were slinging real estate in Tacoma or some bullshit." He leaned against the opposite wall, arms folding over a chest that strained his tailored button down. The fabric whispered of money, Hunter Blackwood Enterprises, probably stamped on letterheads now. "Pitching a development deal. Old man's legacy, you know? Dad's vineyard in the valley finally kicked the bucket, so I'm flipping it into condos for tech brothers." His eyes flicked over me, lingering a beat too long on the faded tattoo peeking from my cuff. A small compass rose I'd inked in freshman year as a fuck you to feeling lost. "You? Still doodling cartoons for coffee shops." The jab stung, but I swallowed it. "Freelance graphic designer. Pays the rent on a shoebox in Capitol Hill." The elevator groaned softly, as if protesting the tension, and I wondered if it could feel the history thickening the air between us. We'd been in the same orbit once. Ridge Valley's class of 2011. A tight-knit hell of Friday night bonfires and whispered crushes no one dared voice. I'd crushed on him, God help me, in the stolen moments when his guard slipped. The way he'd linger after practice, sweat-damp hair catching the stadium lights, or how he'd defend a stray dog from the road with a gentleness that contradicted the cruelty he doled out to me. But that was delusion, a survivor's rewrite. Hunter had been the enforcer of small-town norms, the golden boy whose dad owned half the orchards and whose mom baked pies for church socials. Gay wasn't a word you said aloud in Ridge Valley. It was a shadow you buried under flannel and football, so he'd buried me instead. The lights buzzed back to life for a second, then dimmed again. "We're fucked," I said, sliding down the wall until I sat on the industrial carpet, knees to chest. My laptop bag slumped beside me, a pathetic shield. Hunter hesitated, then joined me on the floor, knees bumping mine in the confined space. His thigh was solid, warm through denim, and I jerked away like burned. "Hey," he said, softer now. "It's not the end of the world. Maintenance will get us out." I laughed, bitter and short. Says the guy who never got locked in his own head. Silence stretched, heavy as the Puget Sound fog. Then, unprompted, he spoke. "I saw you at the reunion last year. You didn't show, but I asked around. Heard you're good at what you do. Proud of you, man. Proud." The word hung absurd, an olive branch from a hand that had once drawn blood. I stared at him, searching for the lie, but his face, lined faintly at the eyes, a scar from a bar fight or a bad fall, held something raw, regret, or just the elevator's intimacy playing tricks. "You don't get to say that," I whispered, voice cracking. "Not after everything." He nodded, slow, like he'd rehearsed this in mirrors. "I know. Aiden, The elevator lurched, a metallic screech echoing, and we both froze. But it settled, unmoving. Whatever he was about to say died on his lips. But the air shifted, charged with the unsaid. Outside, Seattle's horns blared faintly. Lives moving on while we hung in limbo. Two men who'd built empires on avoidance, now forced to confront the ruins. As the minutes ticked into an hour, conversation sputtered like a faulty engine. He asked about my work, clients, inspirations, and I answered in monosyllables, walls up high. But cracks formed. I mentioned a recent project, a mural for a queer youth center in the Central District, and his eyebrows lifted. "That's cool. Changing shit. Huh. Someone has to." I shot back, then regretted it when his face tightened. The emergency light cast his features in crimson, turning the boy I'd feared into something almost human. He rubbed his neck, a gesture I remembered from high school, when he'd pace the sidelines before a game, nerves betraying the bravado. "Look, Aiden, about back then, I was an asshole. Worse than that, I picked on you because you were everything I couldn't be." My breath caught. The words tumbled out like they'd been damned too long. "I hated myself so much, seeing you own it. You were out, quiet but real, while I was choking on lies. Dad would have disowned me. Mom would have prayed it away. So I lashed out. Made you the villain so I didn't have to face mine." The word echoed, rewriting history in a heartbeat. I'd assumed he was straight as the Cascade Trails, chasing cheerleaders and denial. But here, in this metal confessional, he confessed not just regret, but love. The kind that had festered unspoken for years. "I loved you," he said, voice breaking on the edge. "Even then, especially then. And I destroyed it because I was scared." The elevator doors remained sealed, but something in me cracked open, spilling light into the dark. The confession hung between us, heavier than the cables straining to hold our weight. Hunter's eyes, those storm-gray pools I'd once drowned in from afar, locked on mine, pleading for a lifeline I wasn't sure I had to give. My pulse thrummed in my ears, a chaotic rhythm syncing with the distant wail of sirens filtering through the shaft. Seattle never slept, but in this suspended moment, it felt like the city held its breath for us. "Loved?" I echoed, tasting the word like bitter ash. Past tense, a relic. "You expect me to believe that? After the bruises, the whispers that followed me home? You made my life hell, Hunter. And now what? Elevator therapy?" He winced, leaning forward, elbows on knees, hands clasping like in prayer. The scar on his knuckle new, jagged, caught the red light, a testament to fights he'd picked with himself long after Ridge Valley faded. Not therapy. Truth. I replayed it 1,000 times. Every shove, every word. I'd give anything to take it back. But I can't. All I can do is say it now. I was in love with you, Aiden. From the first time you sketched that dragon on your notebook in bio class, fierce and free while I was trapped in my own skin. Flashbacks clawed their way in, uninvited. Sophomore year, the classroom smelling of chalk dust and teenage sweat, sunlight slanting through grimy windows onto my desk. I'd been lost in that drawing, scales curling like smoke, a beast unchained. Hunter had leaned over, breath warm on my ear. What the fuck is that queer shit? But his eyes had lingered hungry before the mask slammed down. I chalked it up to malice, but now, God, the what-ifs twisted like knives. I shook my head, pressing palms to my eyes until stars bloomed. Why now? Why here, when we're literally stuck? Because life's too short for more regrets, he said, voice steadying. Dad died last spring, heart attack in the vineyard, right there among the rows he planted after Vietnam. 58 and gone. Made me see how I'd wasted years pretending. I came out to Mom last month. She cried, but not the bad kind. Hugged me and said she'd always known. Then I heard you were in town, through some mutual from the old crew. Levi, remember him? Works at that craft brewery now. I came looking for you today. This building? It's on my pitch list, but I timed it. Hoped I'd run into you. Stalked. The word flickered, but it didn't land as fear. More like a spark in dry tinder. I lowered my hands, studying him. The faint crow's feet from squinting into Pacific sunsets. The way his shirt clung to shoulders broadened by gym pennants rather than glory. Hunter Blackwood, the untouchable quarterback, reduced to a man unraveling in a box. The elevator creaked again, a low moan that sent my stomach dropping. We both tensed, but it held. Tell me about after, he prompted, shifting closer. Our knees touched now, a deliberate brush that sent electricity skittering up my leg. After Ridge Valley, how'd you make it? I exhaled, the story spilling like rain from eaves. College in Seattle. Rainy nights in dorms with threadbare quilts. Discovering art collectives where queerness wasn't a slur but a spectrum. My first boyfriend, Finn. A lanky sculptor with ink-stained fingers and a laugh like summer thunder, who taught me touch could heal. But Finn left for New York, chasing galleries, and the void echoed with old echoes. Work followed. Gigs at ad agencies that chewed creatives like gum, until I struck out solo, building a portfolio of bold, unapologetic designs for nonprofits and startups. Pride parades where I'd march with signs reading "Love wins," even late, though the winds felt fragile. And you? I asked, voice softening against my will. What became of the king of the valley? He chuckled, low and self-deprecating. Crown was tin. Football scholarship to WSU, but I washed out, too busy drinking to forget. Joined the family business, flipped orchards into subdivisions. Made bank, but it was hollow. Dated women to keep up appearances, nice ones like Sarah from accounting, but it ended in tears every time. Last one, Emma, called me out. You're in love with a ghost hunt. She was right. That ghost was you. The air thickened, intimacy weaving through the staleness. His hand hovered near mine, hesitant, then retreated. I felt the pull, magnetic and terrifying, like leaning into a riptide. What if I can't forgive? I whispered. What if the kid you broke is still in here, waiting for the next hit? Then I'll spend every day proving I'm not that guy anymore. His gaze held steady, vulnerability bared like an open vein. Starting now. A crackle from the intercom shattered the bubble. Maintenance, voices tinny and apologetic. Folks, we're working on it. Power surge downtown. Hang tight, 20 minutes tops. 20 minutes. An eternity in limbo. I nodded, throat tight, and for the first time, let my hand rest near his. Not touching, but close enough to feel the heat. Outside, the city lights blurred through the door seams, a mosaic of lives intersecting. Ours had collided twice now, once in cruelty, once in confession. As stories unfolded in the dim glow, layers peeled. His secret sketches hidden in truck glove boxes, my playlists of angsty folk that mirrored his unspoken ache. Laughter crept in, tentative, over shared memories of Miss Hargrove's English class, where he'd borrow my notes and return them doodled with absurd cartoons. But beneath the thaw, doubt simmered. Was this redemption, or just isolation's illusion? The elevator's hum deepened, vibrations rumbling through us, and I wondered if we'd emerge changed, or shattered when the doors parted. As the second hour dragged, Hunter pulled a flask from his jacket. Whiskey, smooth and peaty, a nod to Scottish roots his grand swore by. "For courage," he offered, cap glinting. I took a swig, fire blooming in my chest, loosening tongues further. He spoke of the vineyard's final harvest, how he'd stood among the vines at dawn, grapes heavy with unspoken sins, realizing the poison wasn't in the soil but in silence. I countered with tales of Seattle's underbelly, underground queer poetry slams in Belltown basements, where words like weapons mended fractures. Our voices wove, a duet of fractured pasts. His fingers finally bridged the gap, tracing my knuckles lightly, a question in touch. I didn't pull away. The contact ignited something dormant, hope, perhaps, or the reckless thrill of what-ifs made flesh. "If we get out," he murmured, breath ghosting my ear. "Dinner. No peaches, no pretenses. Just us." The promise dangled, fragile as fog. Then a jolt stronger this time. The car shuddered, lights flaring bright before steadying. Freedom neared, but so did the real test. Could words forged in captivity withstand the daylight? The doors finally parted with a hydraulic sigh, spilling us into the lobby's cool expanse like survivors from a shipwreck. Hunter stepped out first, offering a hand that I took, firm, grounding, before releasing as if afraid to linger. The space beyond was a whirlwind. Suited professionals tapping screens, baristas slinging lattes from a corner cart, the scent of espresso cutting through the metallic tang clinging to our clothes. Seattle's pulse thrummed, indifferent to our private apocalypse. "Text me," he said, pulling a card from his wallet, crisp, embossed with his name and a direct line. No company flourish, just Hunter Blackwood, raw and unadorned. His eyes searched mine, a silent plea amid the chaos. "Rainier Grill 8 tomorrow, if you show." I pocketed it, fingers brushing his in the exchange, a spark that lingered. "Maybe." But as he walked away, broad back cutting through the crowd like a prow, I knew the pull was inexorable. The elevator's confessional had cracked my resolve. Now, the city would test it. Back in my Capitol Hill walk-up, the apartment felt smaller, walls pressing with echoes. Rain pattered against the fire escape, a familiar lullaby, as I stripped off my coat and sank onto the thrift store couch, laptop forgotten on the kitchenette counter. The card burned in my pocket, a talisman or a trap. Sleep evaded, chased by replays. His confession, the whiskey warmth, the tentative bridge of our hands. By dawn, decision solidified, not forgiveness, not yet, but curiosity. What harm in one meal? Rainier Grill perched on the waterfront, all reclaimed wood and floor-to-ceiling views of Elliott Bay, ferries slicing silver wakes under sodium lamps. I arrived early, nerves jangling like loose change, opting for a corner booth where shadows offered cover. Hunter appeared at 8 sharp, coat beaded with mist, carrying a bottle of Pinot from his family's last vintage. Dark label reading Blackwood Vines, a relic unearthed for this. "You came," he said, sliding in opposite, smile tentative as a first thaw. "Couldn't resist free wine," I quipped, but my voice softened the edge. We ordered seared scallops for him, cedar plank salmon for me, and the conversation flowed easier than expected, lubricated by the vintage's berry notes. He asked about my latest project, a branding overhaul for a trans-led bookstore in Fremont, logos blooming like wildflowers against concrete. I deflected to him, probing the empire's underbelly. Developments pay the bills, he admitted, swirling his glass. But it's not soul food. Dad built Blackwood on sweat, post-war dreams of abundance. I tore it down for profit. Feels like betrayal. His fork paused over the plate, eyes distant. After you left Ridge Valley, I drove by your folks' place once. Lights off, curtains drawn. Felt like I'd erased you. The admission pierced, stirring silt. My parents, stoic mill workers, Dad with his calloused hands and Mom's quiet hymns, had never known the full depth of the bullying. I'd shielded them, spun tales of roughhousing to spare their worry. They moved to Spokane after retirement, chasing sunnier skies, but the old Victorian on Elm Street lingered in dreams, porch swing creaking under starless nights. Tell me about Finn, he ventured later, as desserts arrived. Chocolate torte, decadent and shared. No jealousy laced the question, just genuine curiosity, a man learning the map of my heart. I hesitated, fork midway. He was, like, taught me bodies could be homes, not battlegrounds. But he chased horizons I couldn't follow. Left a year ago. The ache surfaced, fresh as salt air, but muted now, reshaped by time. Hunter nodded, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Brief, electric. You're a horizon, Aiden. Steady, drawing people in. The compliment landed soft, wrapping old insecurities in silk. We walked the pier after, fog rolling in like a velvet curtain, buoys clanging mournful tunes. His shoulder brushed mine, deliberate, and I didn't shy. At my bus stop, he lingered. This isn't pity, he said, voice low against the traffic hum. Or redemption points. I want you, the man you are now. The bus hissed to a stop, doors folding open. I stepped on, turning back. Then earn it. Days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Texts pinged at odd hours. His, laced with dry humor about zoning meetings. Mine, snippets of design sketches or rainy day playlists. Coffee at Victrola turned to hikes in Discovery Park. Salt wind whipping as we navigated muddy trails. Confessions traded like trail mix. He spoke of the night he almost came out. At prom, of all places, when the gym lights spun and bodies swayed. I'd been there, dateless in the corner, nursing punch while he slow danced with Becca Klein, eyes flicking my way like signals. I almost walked over, he said, pausing on a bluff overlooking the sound, gulls wheeling below. Pulled you out, but the crowd, the whispers, I chickened. Regret carved his features, and I touched his arm, first voluntary contact outside the elevator's cage. We were kids playing adults' games. The touch lingered, evolving into a handhold as we descended, fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces long separated. Heat built, unspoken but palpable, in stolen glances and brushed thighs at indie films in the Varsity Theater. One night, after a gallery opening in Pioneer Square, my designs projected on brick walls, bold colors clashing like heartbeats. He drove me home, classic Mustang purring through slick streets. At my door, under the buzz of a faulty porch light, he cupped my face, thumb tracing my jaw. Aiden, he breathed, and the kiss ignited, slow at first, exploratory, then deepening with years of pent-up storm. His lips were firm, tasting of mint and possibility, hands roaming my back with reverence, not conquest. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. Inside? He asked, voice husky. I nodded, pulling him through the threshold. The apartment, cluttered with sketches and half-read novels, became sanctuary. Clothes shed like old skins on the hallway floor, bodies colliding on the bed in a tangle of limbs and whispers. His touch mapped scars, literal and not, kissing the faint white line on my ribs from a locker room shove, murmuring apologies into skin. I traced the tattoos snaking his arms, a vine twisting into a noose, inked post-breakup with Emma, symbol of self-strangulation. We moved together, urgent yet tender, rediscovering trust in rhythms of give and take. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine, vulnerability crested. "I don't deserve this," he murmured into the dark. "None of us do," I replied, fingers carding through his hair. "That's the point." But dawn brought shadows. A call from his assistant, emergency board meeting, vineyard sale closing fast. He dressed in haste, promising lunch, but the seed of doubt sprouted. Was this real, or another phase before the world reclaimed him? Weeks deepened the bond, but fissures appeared. At a Blackwood gala in Bellevue, crystal chandeliers and power suits. He introduced me as Aiden, my partner in crime. But eyes darted, whispers rippled. An uncle, portly with a bourbon flush, clapped his shoulder. "When's the wedding, boy? Or is this your artsy phase?" Laughter followed, brittle as autumn leaves. Hunter's jaw tightened, but he deflected with charm. Later, in the valet line, he squeezed my hand. "Ignore them. Family's a habit, not a home." Yet the words lingered, a chill wind. My own circles, design colleagues at queer brunches in Madrona, eyed him warily when he joined, stories of Ridge Valley's reign filtering through old connections. "The bully?" "A friend," Miles texted postmeet. "You sure?" Doubt nod, amplified by a package arriving at my door. A leather-bound sketchbook from Hunter, filled with drawings. Me, imagined through years. Younger Aiden laughing at a bonfire, older me fierce in studio light. Inside, a note. "You were always my muse. Don't let fear erase us." Tears pricked as I flipped pages, but joy warred with fear. Then, the call that shattered. His mother, voice quavering over the line. "Hunter's in trouble, dear. The board's turning. They know about you." Betrayal's shadow loomed, not from him, but the empire he'd built on sand. The rain lashed Seattle like judgment, sheets slamming my windshield as I sped toward Blackwood's offices in South Lake Union, the glass monolith piercing low clouds. Hunter's mom's call had come at midnight, her words fracturing the afterglow of our weekend in the San Juans. Cabins by the sea, where we'd walked beaches strewn with driftwood, building sandcastles of hypotheticals. "They're forcing him out," she'd said, voice thick with unshed tears. "The board, old guard, your father's cronies, they dug into his past. The coming out, the you, calling it a liability." Liability, the word curdled in my gut, reducing our fragile world to ledger lines. I gripped the wheel, wipers slashing futile arcs, mind racing through scenarios. Hunter had mentioned tensions, whispers of conservative investors balking at progressive projects like eco-condos with queer artist residencies. But not this. Not a coup. The lobby gleamed sterile, all marble and muted music, but the executive floor buzzed like a hive on fire. Hunter's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Riley, waved me past security with a sympathetic nod. "Conference room. It's bad." I pushed through the glass doors into a tableau of tailored suits and scowls. Hunter at the head of the polished oak table, sleeves rolled, tie askew. Maps of proposed developments, Ridge Valley reimagined as gated enclaves, sprawled before him, redlined with vetoes. His uncle Harlan dominated the far end, florid face twisted in disdain. "This isn't a lifestyle expo, Hunt. It's business. Investors want stability, not scandals." Hunter's gaze snapped to me, a flash of relief drowned in fury. "Aiden, what the—" "Stay," I said, voice cutting the din, stepping to his side. Chairs scraped as eyes turned. Curious, hostile, appraising. Harlan's lip curled. "And who's this?" "Your interior decorator." "My partner," Hunter growled, hand finding mine under the table, grip iron. "The one building something real while you circle vultures." The room erupted. Protests, poundings on wood. But Hunter stood, voice rising like a tide. "Blackwood isn't Dad's ghost anymore. It's mine. We've diversified. Community housing in the valley, not just McMansions. Aiden's designs are part of that, human, not soulless. If you can't stomach love that doesn't fit your playbook, walk." Silence crashed, thick as fog. Harlan's face purpled, but he gathered papers with trembling hands. Your funeral, boy. We'll vote tomorrow. He stormed out, lackeys trailing, leaving Hunter and me amid the wreckage. He sagged into the chair, head in hands. They've got leverage, loans tied to family values clauses. Dad's will even has contingencies. His laugh was hollow. Irony. The man who beat me for AB in algebra leaves a legacy of closets. I knelt beside him, thumb brushing his temple. Then fight dirty. Go public. The valley's changing. Queer families moving in. Artists reclaiming the old mills. Lean into it. His eyes lifted, sparking with the old quarterback fire. You'd stand with me? After everything. Especially after. The words sealed it, a vow in fluorescent light. We spent the night strategizing in his downtown loft, exposed brick and city views, a space that smelled of him. Cedar and fresh linen. Takeout ties scattered on the coffee table. Laptops open to mock-ups of a new vision. Blackwood reimagined, with Aiden Hayes designs integrated. Sustainable homes wrapped in murals of local lore. Pride flags woven into the branding. Laughter broke through exhaustion. His head on my shoulder as we sketched till dawn. But dawn brought Harlan's countermove. Leaked emails, doctored to paint Hunter as unstable. Distracted by personal indiscretions. Local news picked it up. Ridge Valley Gazette Online. Headlines screaming, Scandal rocks Blackwood legacy. Heir's secret life threatens jobs. My name surfaced. Twisted. Out-of-towner influences questionable. My phone blew up. Miles forwarding articles. Mom calling from Spokane. Aiden? Is this true? That boy from school. Pride twisted to exposure's knife. Old wounds reopening. At my studio, clients hesitated. Love the work. But optics. Doubt crept, insidious. Was I the villain now, dragging him into my orbit? That evening, at our haven in Discovery Park, trails slick with fallen leaves, I confronted it. This is my fault. Your world was stable. He stopped, spinning me to face him, hands framing my face. Your fault? Aiden, you saved me. From the elevator on. Before that, even in glimpses I was too cowardly to chase. Rain dotted his lashes, voice fierce. They want to bury us? We'll rise. Together. The kiss that followed was desperate. Rain-soaked, bodies pressing against a cedar trunk slick with moss. Hands roamed, urgent, peeling wet layers until skin met skin in the downpour's veil. We tumbled to the forest floor, leaves cushioning, world narrowing to gasps and grips. He entered me slow, eyes locked, whispering my name like prayer. Each thrust a reclamation, binding us against the storm. After, wrapped in his coat, we lay tangled, pulse birds in the canopy above. I love you, he said. Not past tense, but present, fierce. Not the kid from Ridge Valley. You now. All of you. Tears mixed with rain on my cheeks. Love you too. The words freed something, a bird from cage. But the board vote loomed, a guillotine blade. Hunter rallied allies, young execs tired of old ways, investors eyeing ESG trends. I poured into the pitch, visuals of thriving communities, testimonials from queer families in the pilot project. The night before, in his loft, nerves frayed, we made love again. Gentle this time, exploratory, mapping new territories of trust. His fingers traced my compass tattoo, murmuring, always pointing true. Vote day dawned crisp, unnatural blue sky mocking the tension. The conference room filled again, but atmosphere shifted. Fewer scowls, more notebooks. Hunter presented, voice steady. Me at his side flipping slides. Ridge Valley reborn, vines to villages, love the cornerstone. Harlan fumed, but votes trickled. 7-5, retention with reforms. Elation crashed like waves. Hugs, backslaps, champagne popped in victory. But Harlan cornered us in the hall, eyes venomous. This isn't over. Blood's thicker, boy, and yours runs weak. The threat lingered, a serpent in Eden. That night, celebrating at a hole-in-the-wall in Fremont, neon signs and greasy burgers, Hunter proposed a trip. Back to Ridge Valley, face the roots. Show them us. Plant our flag. I agreed, heart swelling, but unease stirred. Betrayal's echo, from uncle to uncle's web. We drove south 2 days later, Mustang hugging curves through evergreens, radio humming indie folk. The valley unfolded. Mist-cloaked hills, barns silvered by time, the orchard's skeletal arms reaching skyward. His mom's house, white clapboard on a rise, welcomed with pie and open arms, her hug fierce. He's happier, she whispered to me. Thank you. But Ridge Valley whispered back. At the old high school field, turf faded, bleachers rusting, ghosts gathered. Tyler and Cole, now dads with beer guts, clapped Hunter on the back at the impromptu alumni barbecue. But their eyes slid to me, cool. Heard you're the brains now, Tyler said, beer foam on his mustache. Good for you, Hayes. Subtext stung. Elevation by association. Whispers circled. Blackwood's gone soft. Levi, the brewer, pulled me aside. He's changed, man. But watch your back. Harlan's stirring shit. Buyouts, sabotage. Night fell, bonfire crackling, stars pricking the dome. Hunter and I slipped away, to the creek behind the field, water murmuring over stones. This place, he said, arm around me. It shaped us wrong. Let's reshape it. We made love there, under moon-silver leaves, urgent and affirming, bodies merging with the night's pulse. But as we dressed, headlights pierced the dark. Harlan's truck, idling ominous. The call came at dawn. Arson at the pilot site, nascent homes gutted. Harlan's doing? Proof vanished in smoke, but suspicion burned. Smoke curled from the blackened skeleton of the development site like accusatory fingers, dawn light gilding the ruins in false gold. We arrived in Hunter's truck, gravel crunching under tires, the acrid stench hitting like a wall. Fire crews milled, hoses snaking across the dirt lot where foundations had promised homes. Queer-friendly units with rainbow-adorned mailboxes. Now craters of char. Hunter killed the engine, face ashen, hands white-knuckled on the wheel. Son of a bitch, he breathed, slamming the door. I followed, heart sinking, as locals gathered at the perimeter tape. Farmers in flannel, wives clutching thermoses, eyes wide with schadenfreude masked as shock. Harlan was there, of course, barking at a deputy, his alibi airtight. Fishing at the lake, check the logs. But we knew. The pattern. Slashed tires on Hunter's crew weeks back. Anonymous tips to inspectors. This was escalation. A declaration from the old guard clinging to Power's corpse. Sheriff Ellis, an aging Ridge Valley fixture with a mustache like steel wool, approached, notepad in hand. Arson preliminary. Accelerant traces. Any enemies, son? Hunter's jaw worked, gaze fixed on the smolder. Plenty, but start with family. Murmurs rippled.
Harlan spun, face tunderos.
You accusing me? After all I've done. Save this outfit from your daddy's debts. Save the act, Hunter snapped, stepping forward, chest to chest. You leak my life, torch my future. For what? To keep the valley your echo chamber. I grabbed his arm, grounding. Not here. The crowd thickened. Phones out, capturing the showdown like a Milltown soap. Ellis cleared his throat. Cool it. We'll investigate. Go home, both of you. Home was his mom's, where coffee brewed strong and accusations simmered. She paced the kitchen, floral apron twisted, eyes red-rimmed. Harlan called last night, raving about protecting the name. Said you'd drag us to ruin with your choices. Her gaze flicked to me, apologetic. Not you, dear. The noise around it. Hunter sank into a chair, head bowed. It's over, Ma. I'll sell out, cut losses.
No.
The word burst from me, fierce. This is your fight. Our fight. I pulled up my laptop. Thank God I'd backed up designs. Spinning a rapid pivot, crowdfunding campaign, rebuild with heart, visuals of Phoenix rising homes, Testimonials from affected families. Go viral. Show the world Ridge Valley's grit isn't hate. He looked up, spark reigniting. You're a force, Hayes. We worked through the morning, fingers flying, his mom's apple fritters fueling the frenzy. By noon, the post launched, socials ablaze with hashtags, shares from Seattle allies. Donations trickled, then poured. 5 grand, 10, 20. News vans arrived by dusk, mics thrusting as Hunter spoke from the porch, me at his side. This fire is not ending us. It's forging something stronger. For everyone who's ever felt pushed out. Harlan's counterpunch came swift. A presser at the Gazette, decrying radical agendas threatening jobs. Blackwood built this town on tradition, he blustered, flanked by cronies. Not fairy tales. The slur landed public, igniting backlash. Online forums erupted. Queer voices from Seattle to Spokane amplifying our story. Levi texted leads. Whispers of Harlan's gambling debts. Shady loans from out-of-state suits. Proof coalesced, slow but inexorable. Nights blurred into strategy sessions at the Creek House Hunter kept on the vineyard edge, a weathered A-frame with views of tangled rows, ghosts of grapes long harvested. There, amid creaking floors and lantern light, we found solace. One evening, after a donor call, tension coiled tight. He pulled me to the deck, stars wheeling overhead, hands framing my hips. You ground me, he murmured, lips brushing my neck. Clothes discarded in the chill, we moved to the Adirondack chairs. His lap a throne, bodies aligning in slow, deliberate union. The valley's hush amplified every sigh, every shift, love as defiance, pleasure as power. You're mine, he whispered, pace quickening, fingers digging crescents into my thighs. Release shattered us, stars blurring to tears. But dawn brought Harlan's surrender, or so it seemed. He appeared unannounced, truck rumbling up the drive, face gaunt. Meeting, neutral ground. Tomorrow. Trap or truce. We chose armor. Lawyers looped in, recorder apps primed. The diner on Main, checkered floors, pie under glass, hosted the parley. Harlan slid into the booth, eyes hollow. You win, kid. Boards folding under pressure. But it's not me on the arson. Lies? His hands trembled on coffee mug. Debts, he admitted, voice cracking. Borrowed from the wrong folks, Tacoma Syndicate. They torched to send a message. Pay up or burn. Revelation twisted the knife. Not malice pure, but desperation's spawn. Hunter's face hardened. You gambled the legacy. For what? Power. Always slipping. Harlan's gaze dropped. Your dad warned me. Said you'd outgrow it all. A pause. Heavy. I'm sorry. For the leaks, the fight. Not the fire. That's on me indirect. Apology hung, tainted. We walked out, Hunter's arm steel around me. Leverage, he said later, in the A-frame's warmth. We flip it. Expose the loans, clean house. But exposure bred risk. That night, as thunder rolled, a brick through the window. Note attached. Back off or next is personal. Glass shards glittered like accusations. My blood from a nick turning the rug crimson. Fear crested. We leave, I urged, bandaging his cuts too. Till it's safe. He pulled me close, heartbeat thunderous. Can't run. Not from this. From us. The syndicate's shadow lengthened. Anonymous calls. Slash tires on my rental. Seattle called, my studio humming with deadlines, but leaving felt abandonment. Instead, we fortified. Private security from a Seattle firm, public appeals swelling the fund to 6 figures. Ridge Valley shifted, tentative. Potlucks at the community hall, where elders like Ms. Hargrove shared pies and stories of lost loves, hidden in mill attics. One such night, fireflies dancing, Hunter and I danced too. Slow sway on the hall's warped floor, his chin on my shoulder. This could be home, he murmured. If we win. The win came jagged. Ellis's raid on Harlan's barn yielded ledgers. Syndicate ties unraveling in federal sweeps. Harlan confessed, plea deal for testimony. The board purged, Hunter at helm unopposed. Victory tasted bittersweet. At the groundbreaking new site, Earth turned under blue skies. Locals cheered, shovels biting soil. But Harlan's empty chair at family dinner echoed, a hollow in the circle. Later, in the vineyard's hush, Hunter knelt amid vines. "Marry me," he said, ring simple. Compass rose etched in gold. "Build this life. All of it." Tears blurred. Yes, but joy's afterglow hid thorns. A letter arrived weeks later, postmarked Tacoma. Syndicate remnants, vowing vendetta. Safety fractured. Love's cost tallied in shadows. The threats escalated like a gathering storm, whispers turning to howls in the valley's veins. Envelopes slipped under doors. Photos of us at the creek, circled in red. Calls at odd hours, breath heavy with menace. "Pretty boy won't save him," a gravel voice rasped one night, yanking me from sleep. Hunter bolted upright beside me, pulling me close in the A-frame's four-poster, his body a bulwark against the chill. "They're bluffing," he murmured into my hair, but his grip betrayed the lie, fingers digging like anchors in surf. We moved operations to Seattle, the loft a temporary fortress with reinforced locks and a security detail that shadowed like reluctant ghosts. My studio thrived on the chaos, designs pouring out, fueled by adrenaline. Logos for the Rebuild Fund, murals planned for the new homes depicting vines entwining rainbows, symbols of resilience. Clients rallied, queer creators from across the sound sending sketches, a digital quilt of solidarity. But sleep evaded, nightmares blending old bullies with faceless thugs, Hunter's face morphing from lover to casualty. He threw himself into the pivot, board meetings via encrypted video, suppliers vetted for ties. His mom visited, bearing jam jars and quiet counsel. "Your grand's ring. Give it to him proper. Life's too vine wild for delays." The proposal replayed in memory, his knee in dirt, eyes alight with valley sun. We'd set a date, small, at the waterfront chapel in Ridge Valley, spring bloom's witness. But now, invitations gathered dust on the fridge. Fracture came subtle, a hairline crack widening. Late nights stretched, Hunter poring over ledgers by desk lamp, whiskey glass sweating rings. "Can't let them win," he'd mutter, dismissing my pleas for rest. Touch grew perfunctory. Kisses clipped, bodies side by side but worlds apart. I understood. The empire's weight, Harlan's shadow lingering in guilty visits to the county jail, where his uncle's eyes pleaded through plexiglass. "I did it for the family," Harlan rasped, cuffs clinking. "Didn't mean the fire. Forgive him," I asked later, as we drove back, cascades blurring green. Hunter's knuckles whitened on the wheel. Not yet, maybe never. But pity? Yeah. He was scared, like I was. Pity bled into our bed, softening edges but dulling spark. One evening, after a threat scrawled on my studio door, "Fairies next," I snapped. "We're prisoners. This isn't living." He reached for me, but I paced the loft's expanse, city lights mocking below. "We fought for freedom, Hunter, not chains." His face crumpled, the invincible quarterback yielding to vulnerability. "I know. God, I know. But walking away, it's admitting defeat." We argued then, voices rising over the hum of the fridge. Me demanding a break, time to breathe. Him clinging, fear masked as resolve. "You think I don't see it?" he shouted, first crack of thunder. "The way you flinch at shadows? This is my fault. Dragging you into my mess." "Your mess," I hurled back, chest heaving. "We built this, together, but you're suffocating us, playing martyr." Silence crashed, brutal. He sank to the couch, head in hands. "I love you too much to lose you, but if space is what you need." The words hung, a guillotine paused. I knelt, cupping his face, thumbs tracing salt tracks. Not space, balance, therapy maybe, for both, the kid who bullied, the man who loves. He nodded, broken but bending. Together. Sessions started in a Belltown office, overlooking the market's bustle. Fishmongers hawking, tourists oblivious. Dr. Lena, with her no-nonsense bob and valley drawl, unpacked us like heirlooms. My buried rage, sketched in therapy journals. His guilt, confessed in halting waves. I bullied to Barry. He admitted one session, voice raw. You shone, Aiden. I dimmed my own light by trying to snuff yours. Healing wove slow, threads of words mending fabric. Dates resumed. Picnics in Green Lake, paddleboats cutting wakes, laughter bubbling free. Touch reignited, deliberate. Mornings in the loft, sunlight slanting over bare skin, explorations lazy and affirming. You're my north, he'd whisper, lips trailing my collarbone, hands mapping with reverence. The syndicate unraveled further, feds closing in, arrests rippling from Tacoma dives to Portland ports. Threats faded to echoes, security peeled back layer by layer. Harlan's trial loomed, but Hunter chose witness stand grace. He was family, flawed. We rebuild, not bury. Spring crested, dogwoods blooming riots along the valley roads. The wedding dawned soft, chapel bells tolling over mist-kissed hills. 50 souls gathered. Mom dabbing eyes in the front pew, his mom beaming beside. Levi toasting with craft IPAs, Miles sketching caricatures. I walked the aisle in linen suit, compass tie pin glinting, heart full as the sound. Hunter waited, eyes misted in blackwood tartan vest. A nod to roots reclaimed. Vows exchanged simple. In shadows and light, I choose you. Rings slid on, granite and gold, etched vines. The kiss sealed it, cheers erupting, valley winds carrying joy. Honeymoon in the San Juans. Cabin by cove, kayaks slicing fjords, nights under aurora veils. There, in salt air and starlight, we conceived futures. Adoptions whispered, designs for a family home blending urban edge with rural heart. Back in Ridge Valley, the rebuild flourished. Homes rising, murals vivid, first families moving in. Queer couples with kids chasing fireflies. Harlan, paroled early for cooperation, attended a housewarming uninvited, standing peripheral. Hunter approached, hand extended. Uncle, no more. He took it brief, proud kid. Finally, redemption's arc bent, not broke. We settled in Seattle with valley weekends, vineyard revived as co-op, grapes for all. Years folded, my studio expanding, his developments humane. A son came, adopted little Elias, with Hunter's gray eyes and my freckles. Toddling through orchards, free of our ghosts. One evening, porch swing creaking like memory, Elias asleep inside, Hunter pulled me close. We made it, he said, lips brushing temple. Trapped once, I replied, hand over his heart. Freed forever. The valley slumbered, stars winking approval. Love, we'd learned, wasn't absence of storm, but dancing in the rain.